one of my colleagues did this exercise, which to me, it's connected in my brain, where like in a group of people, like, and we're not going to do it, but if we all got up and walked into a clump and put our hands together and each took a hold of someone else's hand, not knowing, like just that we could unravel it into a circle. There would be some way to do it. I mean, it might mean doing some of this kind of stuff, but there would be a way to undo that knot without letting go of someone's hand. And some people might end up this way, some people might end up this way. Ellen Goldman is the teacher who I learned that from. And I'm fascinated by that, these places where we think we can't do anymore. Because I'm really just fascinated by when we think we can't do it, what it is that we think we can't do. And it also has to do with something that I think is really important when we think about limitations in an asana. And this came up a couple weeks ago when I was teaching with Leslie, and it was some conversation about, well, if that's all your hip can do, that's all your hip joint can do. And I know that there are other, there's some approaches to anatomy, and there are other teachers in the world who are like, you figure out what the end range is, and you just be happy with what you can do in that hip joint. And that's all you can do, and come to peace with the bony end range of the joint. That's all you can do. And I think that it is true that there's going to be a point where that's what that joint can do. But that does not mean that's the end of what I can do in that asana. Because no asana is about just one joint. That coming forward is not only, say, about my hamstrings, not only about my hip joints, and that there might be only so much I can do in my hip joints, but I can do something in my SI joints, I can do something in my spine, I can reshape the shape of my sacrum. Say I can da 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 da. And even if I bend my knees then, we're also in the question of like, what is this forward bend about? What is Paschimottanasana about? And if it is an evenly distributed stretch along the backside of your body, that's one thing, but it's not just about getting your hamstrings as long as they can possibly be. Or if I'm trying to do, somehow it seems to me like it comes up about movement in the hip joints, right? That, well, this is what your hip joints can do, this is what they can do, except for that if I change my pelvis, it'll have an effect. And my knees, I don't want to force something into my knees, but my knees can move a little bit, my tibia and my fibula can move a little bit, my feet can move a little bit, and my tail between my sit bones can move a little bit, and if my spine changes, and if my jaw changes, my hip will change. Like that all these things are connected in this way, that it might be true that I can only do so much in one joint, but no asana is about only one joint. Nothing we do is about only one joint. And so, to me, those are all tied together, that I might do something like this movement because I have mobility in my SI joint. Someone else might do it because they have a lot of freedom in their hip joints. Someone else might do it because they have a lot of freedom in their knee joint. Someone else might do it because they've just got freedom everywhere. But someone else, and within it's like we have to look at each person as their own little ecosystem, or their own little, I guess, ecosystem, that are all the parts playing nicely with each other. Are they all interacting with each other? And if I have 60 degrees range of motion and you have 90 degrees and you have 40, it doesn't mean I'm not doing Baddha Konasana and so is. So, yeah, and then just that question of like, well, I get here and I think I'm done. Like, why do I think I'm limited? What? It's an illusion that I can't do whatever I want to do. And I don't mean that we should push ourselves into hurting ourselves, but where do we get in our own way about what we think is possible? Yeah.